كلية الفقه الحنفي تقدم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. In this set of videos, we're going to be looking at the 4 types of Ashriba Muharrama. So bear in mind, we're going to be categorizing all of the drinks that we have into 3 categories. Category number 1 is the Ashriba Muharrama, which has 4 drinks inside it. Category number 1 is Ashriba Muharrama, which has 4 drinks inside it, which is number 1, grape juice left to ferment, grape juice heated, less than 2/3 evaporate. Then what we refer to as naqi of dates and naqi of raisins, which is where raisins and dates are left in water to ferment. Category number 2 are going to be where dates and raisins are heated, whereby less than 2/3 of it evaporate. Category number 3 are going to be drinks made from products other than grapes, dates and raisins. So we'll be looking at the opinion of the fuqaha, the Hanafi school, in regards to these 3 intoxicating drinks. So when these products are made and they are intoxicating, they get to a level of an intoxication, we're going to be looking at what the fuqaha say. There's going to be a slight difference of opinion between Imam Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf and what Imam Muhammad says. Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Yusuf, they generally have a bit more of a relaxed position when it comes to these issues, a bit more of a lenient position. Imam Muhammad is very strict and very rigid when it comes to the issue of alcohol and when it comes to the issue of intoxication. Right? We'll then be looking at what happens if you make a mixture of some of these drinks. This is called a khalit. Take a bit of raisin juice, a bit of grape juice, a bit of raisin juice, and a bit of date juice, and so on. What happens in that type of a scenario as well. So we'll be looking at that, and hopefully what that will do, that will then lay the foundation for all the different types of drinks. So in the next 3 videos, we're trying to cover all the different possible types of drinks that exist when it comes to making intoxicating drinks. After that, we can then start looking at the practical implementation of those drinks. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Okay, so we've had a look at 2 of the drinks that are considered to be haram. Now, we mentioned that there are some differences between category 1 and between number 2, 3 and 4. So what we're going to do, we'll leave that difference until we've covered all 4 drinks first. So drink number 3 and 4. Number 3 is what is referred to as naqi. Naqi made from dates. And number 4 is naqi made from raisins. Naqi made from dates and naqi made from raisins. Now what is a naqi? Naqi is an ism, the word is ism maf'ul. And the idea is when raisins, well, if it's a naqi of raisins or a naqi of dates, raisins or dates are placed inside a container and they are left there to become kind of moist, and eventually over time the sweetness of those raisins or dates start to become extracted, start to come out of the dates and start to come out of the raisins. So this is called naqi of dates and naqi of raisins. So the question here is naqi of dates and raisins, are they considered haram? Well, again, the same ruling as above applies. So these are not haram immediately, but when they start to become intoxicating, then they will become haram. When they start to become intoxicating, they will become haram. Okay? Now, this tells us that the ruling of Ashriba Muharrama, the 4 haram intoxicating drinks, applies to very specific products. Number 1, it applies to grapes and raisins, right? And it applies to dates. Any drink which is made, even though it's intoxicating, is made from any other product, is going to have a separate set of rulings and is not going to be considered to be from the ashriba muharrama. Is not going to be considered from the ashriba muharrama. So now we've mentioned 4 types of haram drinks. The first one is khamr, which is grape juice left to ferment and it becomes intoxicating. The second is badiq, grape juice heated to less than 2/3 become evaporated and it becomes intoxicating. The naqi, made from raisins, and naqi, made from dates, where they're basically left and the juice is kind of extracted from them, and when that comes to a level of where it is intoxicating, then in that case that will also become from the ashriba muharrama. So these 4 drinks are considered, when they become intoxicating, these 4 drinks are going to be considered to be haram. Absolutely, totally haram. Now, I mentioned that there's a difference between category number 1 and the other 3 categories. So drink number 1 and the other 3 drinks. What's the difference between the 3? Number 1 is a qat'i haram, clear-cut, total haram. So khamr is something, because in the Quran it mentions khamr, right, clearly. So when you have khamr, anyone who does istihlal of khamr becomes a kafir. You start drinking khamr openly, you become a fasiq. The najasa of it is ghalidha, right? Had is given to this person, and so on, right? Even if they drink a bit of it, had can be given to that person. As for the other 3 drinks, the prohibition is still haram, but it drops slight degree below khamr. So if a person does istihlal of it, they don't necessarily become kafir straight away. Had is given after they become intoxicated, not before. There's a bit of an ikhtilaf as to whether the najasa is ghalidha or whether it's khafifa, and so on, right? So you can see that in some degree, some elements, the ruling is going to be slightly less than in comparison to the actual khamr itself. Now, moving on. These are the 4 intoxicating drinks, the ashriba muharrama, that are covered. There is no difference of opinion between Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Muhammad and Imam Abu Yusuf as to whether these are haram or not. These are clear-cut haram, finished, end of story. There's no debate, there's no discussion. These are clear-cut, totally unlawful and prohibited. Yes, there's just that difference of opinion slightly at to which point it becomes haram, and that Imam Abu Hanifa said it has to froth also, and Sahibain say that level of frothing does not have to be there. Right, so that we categorize all of that as one group now, the ashriba muharrama. Then you have category number 2 of drinks. We're going to discuss 3 categories of drinks. First is ashriba muharrama, which we've done. Now we're going to look at category number 2. Category number 2 is the nabidh. So before it was naqir. Category number 2 is nabidh of dates and nabidh of raisins. Nabidh of dates and nabidh of raisins. Before it was naqi of dates and raisins. Now what is a nabidh of dates and nabidh of raisins? Nabidh of dates and raisins is when they are slightly heated. So the difference between naqi and nabidh is that in naqi there's no heating done at all. But when it comes to nabidh, there's a bit of heating that takes place. You'll notice here that when things start to become heated and warmed and boiled and cooked, the ruling starts to become a bit lighter, as opposed to naturally being left to ferment. So here you have the nabidh of dates and the nabidh of raisins, which is when they are slightly heated. Now these products are both considered to be halal, according to Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Abu Yusuf, even if they become strong and intoxicating. Even if they become strong and intoxicating. Now this might be a bit of a shock. That how can an intoxicating drink be considered to be haram and lawful? Does that mean you're allowed to become intoxicated? Does that mean you're allowed to become drunk? Does that mean you can go and start drinking beer and so on, right? And you may have heard about this, that the Hanafi school permits drinking beer and so on, right? And you have this kind of stereotype out there. So now we're going to be looking at exactly what the Hanafi school actually says in regards to these issues. So before we start jumping to conclusions, let's go and get into the details of all the conditions and everything first, and the differences of opinion. So nabidh of dates and nabidh of raisins, where they're put into water and they're slightly heated, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf says that these are considered to be lawful for a person, even if they were to become even if the drink itself has the power to intoxicate someone, provided, now here are the conditions. Number one, you don't drink an amount which intoxicates you. You don't drink an amount which intoxicates you. Number one. Number two, the drink is not there taken as pastime for a bit of excitement. You know how people go to the pub, go to the bar and have a drink just for excitement and to kind of give them a bit of a buzz. No, it's not done for that reason. It's done because it's a power drink. It's done because it gives you strength and it gives you quwwah. So a drink which, if drunk in large quantities, could intoxicate you. Not the ashriba muharrama. In that one, if you drink it in small quantities, it's haram. But this drink, the nabidh of dates and the nabidh of raisins, which have been heated, if you were to drink it in large quantities, it has the potential to intoxicate you. You're only going to drink it in a small amount. And you're going to drink it in an amount where you are certain that it's not going to intoxicate you. Number two, it's going to give you some sort of strength. It's going to make you energetic, for example. Red Bull gives you wings, right? There's going to be an energy drink that you're going to have, helps you with your qiyam, helps you pray tahajjud for longer, plays no impact on your mind at all. You're not doing it just for fun and for excitement and just for entertainment. Then according to Imam Abu Hanifa and according to Imam Abu Yusuf, this drink is going to be considered lawful with these conditions attached. It's going to be considered lawful and permissible and is going to be halal with these conditions attached, where it's drunk in a certain amount of quantity and with a particular purpose in mind. And if it's lawful to drink, then it's also going to be tahir and it's going to be pure as well. In the next video, we'll look at a few other detailed points regarding this, and we'll be looking at the opinion of Imam Muhammad, as we have not mentioned Imam Muhammad yet. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We are now looking at the issue of nabidh. Now, when I say nabidh here, bear in mind I'm not talking about what people normally do, which is get 2 dates, put it into water, leave it for 1 or 2 nights and then drink it, right? That is by agreement permissible if that's not an intoxicating drink. If you don't leave it long enough where it becomes intoxicating, then it's permissible, it's lawful, it's halal, there's no issue there at all. Remember, all of these drinks that we are discussing, we're discussing them when they get to a point where they are intoxicating. Where they are intoxicating. If you take a few dates and you leave them in water and you don't heat it, it's going to become a naqir. And if you leave it whereby it becomes intoxicating, that's a naqir. And that is haram to drink. It's from the ashriba muharrama. Whereas if you take the dates and raisins and you start heating them slightly, right, and you're waiting for the juices to kind of extract into the water, and again, what do we say? When we say heated, less than 2/3 have evaporated. So for this segment here, we're looking at dates and raisins which are heated, less than 2/3 have evaporated, right? If more than 2/3 have evaporated, then that's going to be group number 3. If more than 2/3 have evaporated, that's group number 3. If less than 2/3 have evaporated of dates and raisins, then it's the discussion that we are in now. If it was grapes that are heated and less than 2/3 have evaporated, what happens there? That was category number 1, ashriba muharrama. So try not to get confused with these few scenarios. Remember, grapes heated, less than 2/3 evaporated, ashriba muharrama. It was number 2. It was out of the 4, it was number 2. If raisins or dates are heated, less than 2/3 evaporate, then that's going to be in condition group number 2. And if it's more than 2/3, then that will be looked at later on. So if you have this nabidh, dates and grapes, dates and raisins, heated where less than 2/3 have evaporated. It's taken and consumed for a purpose like gaining strength, right? Then according to Imam Abu Hanifa, and it's not there for the purpose of entertainment. And the difference between this naqi is that it's heated, nabidh was not heated. According to Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf, they said it's permissible provided you're not going to become intoxicated by it. According to Imam Muhammad, this is also going to be unlawful and haram. According to Imam Muhammad, this is also going to be haram. Why? Because Imam Muhammad says it's an intoxicating drink. When it's an intoxicating drink, it's haram. Don't look at what it's made from. Has this got the ability to intoxicate you? Yes. Fine. Has the ability to intoxicate you? It's going to be a haram drink. End of story. Now, in the Hanafi school, you have two issues that you look at. You look at opinions in terms of which one is stronger, in terms of dala'il and evidence and so on. And then you also look at the opinion upon which fatwa is given. The practice and the amal of the people is going to be on the mufta bihi position upon which there is fatwa. So where is the fatwa? That is what we need to look at. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf are a bit more relaxed when it comes to these types of intoxicating drinks. Again, they're not saying you can become intoxicated. They're not saying you can go to a bar and start drinking. They're saying if you have a power drink that is made from these products and you're going to consume an amount which is not going to intoxicate you, and it's going to give you some benefit, it's going to give you strength, you're going to be able to stay up for longer and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, then you are permitted to drink this drink. Imam Muhammad, he says no, this is not allowed, it's an intoxicating drink, therefore even a drop of it is going to be haram and unlawful. In the Hanafi school, the fatwa is on the position of Imam Muhammad. Let's make that clear. The fatwa is on the opinion of Imam Muhammad. If you start saying to people that you can have these drinks, they're going to abuse it. They're going to take it away from what the scholars intended, and they're going to start drinking it as a normal drink. Oh, I'm just drinking it for strength, I'm just drinking it for this and that. And then eventually they're going to fall prey, and they're going to eventually become intoxicated, and they can become abused, right? The fatwa is clearly on Imam Muhammad. So that means for us as people, yes, we're discussing the fiqhi details here. We're looking at the fiqhi nuances and the different opinions. But in terms of fatwa, for us, any intoxicating drink is going to be haram and unlawful to consume, regardless of where it's sourced from, regardless of how it's made, and regardless of the amount that it is consumed in. That has to be made clear cut, right? But there is this difference of opinion. Now, this difference of opinion that we see here is what I'm going to not go into this in detail right now. We're going to discuss this in the other videos, but just bear this difference of opinion in mind, because this is the difference of opinion which contemporary scholars utilize to help us get out of the public predicament that we have today, the umumul balwa that we have today of alcohol being used in everything, right? So we're going to see how the contemporary scholars strategically utilize these differing opinions to provide us with a practical scenario and practical way of dealing with these issues of alcohol and alcohol-based products. Now, there's an issue of khalit, because we've looked at grape separate, date separate, raisin separate, right? Now, khalit is where you mix raisins and dates. So the juice from raisins, the juice from dates, right? That becomes a khalit. Now the ruling for the khalit is going to be the same as before. So it doesn't matter if you're making these separately or if you're going to be mixing them together, the ruling is going to be the same. It will apply based on what is the product that you're using, right? And what is the quantity of evaporation. Now if, for example, one of the mixture has grapes in there, just say the mixture that you have, it has grapes in there, and less than 2/3 has evaporated, right? then that is a problem, because that comes from the ashriba muharrama. So if in the mix you have grape juice and it's heated less than 2/3, then you have a problem, because that now falls under ashriba muharrama number 2. But if you're not using grapes, you're using dates or you're using raisins, then this wasn't from the ashriba muharrama if it's heated. Remember, if it's not heated, then again that's the naqi of dates and raisins. But if it's heated, it moves from this category number 1 that we had over here of ashriba muharrama. By heating the raisins and dates, it becomes into category number 2. Category number 2 have a difference of opinion amongst Imam Hanifa, Imam Yusuf, and then Imam Muhammad. So provided that you're heating it, right, then it will apply, the same rule will apply. It doesn't matter if it's naqi of date separate, naqi of raisin separate, or whether it's a khalif and a mix of the two. So now that discussion here that we have covered is the issue, group number 1 and group number 2 of drinks has been covered. What I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize this one more time, because I know there's a lot of overlaps here. I'm going to summarize this one more time. So we have 3 categories of drinks, right? 1, 2, and 3. Category number 1 is the ashriba muharrama. Ashriba muharrama is where you have grape juice left to ferment. Or number 2, you have grape juice which is heated, whereby less than 2/3 evaporate. Or you have the naqi of dates or the naqi of raisins. And that is where you leave raisins or dates in water and you leave it to ferment, right? These 4, when they become intoxicating, they are haram and ashriba muharrama. Finished. Even a small quantity is haram. Category number 2. Category number 2 is where you have the nabiz of dates and the nabiz of raisins. And that is when you take these products, put them in water, and then you heat them, whereby less than 2/3 evaporate. There was no heating with in the last scenario of the raisins and the dates. Here you have the raisins and the dates are being heated, less than 2/3 evaporate. Imam Hanifa, Imam Yusuf says permissible with conditions. Imam Muhammad says not permissible at all once it becomes an intoxicating drink. In any of these scenarios, if they didn't get to the level of intoxication, not you become the drink itself cannot intoxicate, then it doesn't fall into these categories in the first place. And the next video we'll look at category number 3 and group number 3 of these types of drinks. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa la aqibatu lil muttaqeen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyid al-Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Nabiyyana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. Okay. We are now going to move over to category number 3 of drinks. I'm not going to summarize 1 and 2 as we've done that already. Category number 3 is now where you're not using dates, raisins, grapes. So you see that these 3 are serious products. The ruling, as soon as you get to dates, raisins, grapes, you have an issue, right? Now we're going to be looking at drinks made from honey, known as bit in the Arabic language, or figs, or made from wheat, known as mizr, or barley, known as hiqqa, the drinks known as hiqqa, or made from corn, known as sukurka, right? Now these products, and you have other products that you can throw in there now, any other product, sugar cane, sugar beet is a product that's commonly used today as well. Apples and pears, I don't know about pears, but apples, right? All of these products that are not dates, grapes, or raisins, right? What happens in this scenario? Again, you have the differing opinion that you had in number 2. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, according to Imam Abu Yusuf, if these are taken for the purpose of gaining strength, or they're there to istimra' al-ta'am, it's there to help kind of digest your food, right? These ones, even if they're not heated, this is where the difference is between 3 and 2. The difference between category 3 and 2 is, number 1, the product itself is different. We were looking at raisins and dates. Now we're looking at other items, number 1. Number 2, these are not heated. These are not heated at all, right? Sorry, even if they're not heated. Even if they're not heated. but they become intoxicating. According to Shaykhain, they are permissible and they are halal, with those conditions attached. With those conditions attached that we mentioned before. You can't become intoxicated. It can't be done just for the purpose of excitement and entertainment and so on. Imam Muhammad, on the other hand, he says that these products are also haram. Once they become intoxicating, they become haram and unlawful products regardless. They become haram and they become intoxicating, therefore they are haram regardless. And again, fatwa is on the position of Imam Muhammad. Fatwa is on the position of Imam Muhammad. So let's have a look again at the distinction. Remember we said heating makes things lighter. So when we had, let's look at the issue of dates and raisins. Dates and raisins. If dates and raisins are not heated at all, what happens to them? They come under ashriba muharrama. They become naqi tamar, naqi zabib, right? Daqi. They be non-heated is category number 1. If you were to start heating dates and raisins, and less than 2/3 have evaporated, then it's category number 2 and you have the ikhtilaf. Now in category number 3, we're looking at other products. Now somebody might ask that, look, with dates and raisins, there's a difference between when they were just left to ferment and when they were heated. When they were left to ferment, it was ashriba muharrama. When they were heated, it was a bit lighter and you had this difference of opinion between the imams. When it comes to honey, wheat, barley, corn, sugar cane, sugar beet, and so on, is there a difference between when it's just left to ferment and when it's heated? No. In the third category, whether it's just left to ferment or whether it's heated, the ruling is still going to be the same, right? So that's why we have these 3 groups, because of this slight difference between the 2. Now in category number 3, the opinions are the same like category number 2. Imam Abu Hanifa and Yusuf say it's allowed with conditions attached. Imam Muhammad says, is it intoxicating drink? Yes, khalas, haram, even in a small quantity. Now these are the 3 groups of drinks that are covered, and hopefully nearly all types of drinks have been mentioned within there. Nearly all types of drinks, because all products that you're going to use will fall under one of these 3. If it's grapes, dates or raisins, it's going to be either in category 1 or 2 depending on the process of making the intoxicating drink. If it's made from anything else, then it's going to be in group and category number 3. Since we're just talking about these categories, I'm just going to indicate that when it comes to all these alcohol that we have in all of the products that we have today, 99.9999999% of the time is made from category number 3. The alcohol and ethanol does not come from grapes or dates. It does not come from grapes or dates. So therefore, it will be category number 3. So maybe, for those that are thinking carefully, you might start to see where exactly the leniency is going to be coming from, or where exactly the contemporary fatwa are going to be coming from. So remember, category number 3 is kind of where synthetic alcohol and all of these things are now going to originate, because they're not coming from dates or grapes. Now, one thing that we mentioned is that grape juice, if you go back to your ashriba muharrama, number 1, khamar was raw grape juice left to ferment. Number 2 was raw grape juice cooked, whereby less than 2/3 evaporate. Less than 2/3 evaporate. So what happens if more than 2/3 evaporate? That's something we haven't looked at. So now grape juice, which is cooked, whether it's cooked on the fire or whether it's kind of just heated under the sun, if more than 2/3 evaporate, it becomes lawful. If more than 2/3 evaporate, it becomes lawful to consume. This is kind of now going into the process of turning it into like a vinegar, right? But that's a separate discussion. The vinegar is a separate discussion, or maybe even turning it into a jam and so on, right? So that's a separate discussion. If more than 2/3 evaporate, we said it becomes lawful. If it still has an intoxicating element to it, then you have this difference of opinion that you have Imam Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf say it's permissible with conditions attached. Imam Muhammad says not allowed because it's intoxicating. So you see that the more you start to heat something and warm it up and cook it, the lighter the ruling becomes. With grape juice, if it's less than 2/3 heated, it's still ashriba muharrama. If more than 2/3 if it's heated more than 2/3 evaporate, then it becomes a lawful drink. If it's got an intoxicating element, then Imam Muhammad will say no, we're not going to allow it. So remember, in category number 2, we said if dates and raisins are cooked less than 2/3. Again here, if grape juice is allowed when more than 2/3 have evaporated, and grape juice is the serious one, right? Then of course dates and raisins will also be, if more than 2/3 have evaporated, and that will also be permissible, and that will also be allowed. Now there's one last discussion in relation to these types of drinks before we move on to the contemporary discussions, right? In the process of heating, sometimes you might have a pause and you might have a break. So you might start heating it and then you stop, and then you heat it again and then you stop. So just a slight point, a note here, footnote to finish this video. The fuqaha say that if you heated it up until 1/3 disappeared, and then you took it off the fire, and then you put it back onto the fire again, what happens? If it was returned before it started boiling, so you took it off before it started boiling, it didn't even get to the point of boiling, then it is going to be unlawful. It is going to be unlawful because once it started to boil, it's as though you've already taken into the ashriba muharrama. If, however, it was not the case and it was returned after, so it will be lawful. But if it was returned afterwards, then it will not be lawful. So if it started to boil, get this right. If it started to boil, it will be lawful. And if it didn't start to boil, it returned after, then it will not be lawful. Right? Hopefully that's clear. If not, I'll add a bit more clarification in the next video, inshallah ta'ala. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We have now had a look at all the different possibilities in terms of creating intoxicating drinks. Category number 1, which is the ashriba muharrama, are 4 drinks. Number 1 is the khamar, the serious one, which is date juice left to ferment. Then number 2 is grape juice left to ferment. Number 2 is grape juice cooked, less than 2/3 evaporate. Number 3 is the naqi of dates and raisins, whereby you leave it in water and you leave it to ferment, and 2/3 you leave it to ferment. According to all the imams of the madhab, this is considered haram and unlawful to consume even in small quantity. Category number 2 is referred to the nabidh of dates and raisins, and that is when the dates and raisins are put in water and they're slightly heated, whereby less than 2/3 evaporate. According to Imam Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf, this is permissible to drink in small quantity. Even if the large quantity would intoxicate you, you can drink it in small quantity, provided it's not done just for the purpose of excitement and entertainment. It's there as a power drink, for example, to give you energy, and you know that the amount you're going to drink is not going to intoxicate you. Anything which intoxicates is going to be haram according to all the imams. We're talking about an intoxicating drink which is drunk to an amount which does not intoxicate you. According to Imam Muhammad, this is haram. Any drink which has the ability to intoxicate you is haram and is unlawful. Then category number 3 is nabidh made from any other type of drink. So honey, figs, wheat, barley, sugar cane, and so on. Again, if it becomes intoxicating, if the drink can intoxicate, Hanifa, we say it's allowed if you drink in small quantities with those conditions attached. Imam Muhammad, again very strict, says has the ability to intoxicate you, is going to be haram, is going to be unlawful, is going to be impermissible. Hopefully now all intoxicating drinks and products will now have been categorized and can be categorized into one of these three categories based on what they are made from, and number two, the process of which they are made using.